The sun was barely up, casting a golden haze over the rolling pasture where Henry Grayson sipped his coffee, the bitter warmth grounding him in the quiet of his retirement. His small ranch, tucked just beyond the city's edge, was his sanctuary, 6 acres of sun-warmed grass, bleating goats, and the kind of peace that only comes from leaving the world's noise behind. At 71, Henry had seen enough of human nonsense to appreciate the simplicity of mending fences and watching his herd nibble clover. But that morning, as he sat on his porch, the rumble of tires shattered the stillness. Not the familiar hum of the delivery truck, but something heavy, earthly trucks, loaded with tents, tables, and catering gear, rolling onto his land like an invading army. Henry set his mug down, squinting as a dozen workers spilled out, erecting a massive white wedding tent complete with chandeliers and a dance floor. His pulse quickened. He strode to the field's edge, boots crunching gravel, and flagged down a wiry kid with a clipboard. "What the hell's going on?" Henry demanded. The kid barely looked up. "Ms. Linda approved this. Said it's HOA communal land, all cleared." Linda. The name hit like a wasp sting. Linda Harper, president of the Willow Creek Estates HOA, a woman who wielded bylaws like a warlord and treated neighbors like serfs. Henry's land wasn't in her HOA, never had been. He'd owned this pasture since '89, free and clear. "This is my property," he growled. "Private. Get out." The kid tapped his clipboard, unfazed. "We were told the owner's fine with it. Must be a mix-up." Henry's jaw tightened. He spotted a DJ unloading speakers next to his goat barn, and his blood boiled. He marched to Linda's house, a gaudy beige mansion with manicured shrubs that looked tortured into submission. She stood outside in a robe, curling her hair, a mimosa in hand, laughing into her phone like she hadn't just hijacked his land. When she saw Henry, her smile vanished. "What gives you the right to throw a wedding on my pasture?" he asked, voice steady but sharp. Linda didn't flinch. "The HOA needed a rustic venue for the Thompson-Carter wedding. Your field's next to our land, it's practically community property. It's about neighborhood aesthetics." Henry blinked, stunned by her audacity. "I don't care if it's next to the White House. It's mine." She waved him off. "Don't be so selfish, Henry. You're part of this community." He leaned in, voice low. "The only thing I'm part of is my own damn deed." Then she said it, the line that made his molars grind. "Relax, Henry. I'll send you a thank you note." He stormed back home, fury simmering. The county clerk's office went to voicemail. The sheriff said trespassing was a civil matter, unless blood was spilled. Henry stood on his porch, watching the tent grow fancier by the hour. Caterers, florists, photographers, all turning his pasture into a circus. Through binoculars, he saw they'd plugged a power strip into his barn's outlet. His electricity. String lights draped his fence. The hum of warmers and the clink of silver trays drifted over, and then he herded Betsy, his sharpest goat, huffing like she'd sniffed out a feast. The buffet table gleamed under white linens, piled with brisket, cheeses, and a towering cake. It wasn't funny anymore. It was war. Henry sat, notebook in hand, and scrawled one word. Options. Call his lawyer? It was Saturday. Dom didn't answer after Friday golf. Confront them himself? His knees weren't up for brawls. Then he glanced at Betsy, sniffing the gate, her herd behind her, eyes glinting with mischief. Option 3, let the goats decide. A grin crept over his face, slow and dangerous. If he did this, there'd be no turning back. He pictured the chaos: Linda screaming, guests scattering, food flying. His heart raced. Maybe the goats were born for this. He stood, walked to the barn, and swung the gate wide. Betsy locked eyes with him. He whistled once. She stepped forward, bell jingling, and the herd followed. They didn't charge, they sauntered, like VIPs revying fashionably late to a party they weren't invited to. Betsy led, her authority unshakable, with Otis, Mabel, and Big Jim trailing, blinking into the sunlight as if they knew something big was coming. Henry watched from his porch, pulse pounding, as they zeroed in on the tent. The guests hadn't noticed. The ceremony hadn't started. The bride stepped from a car, radiant in white, and for a flicker, Henry felt a pang of guilt. Then Betsy reached the tent, sniffed a centerpiece, and ate a rose. Otis rubbed his horns on a chair. Mabel, ever defiant, chomped the tablecloth. A woman in a teal dress screamed, pointing. Chaos erupted. "Goats!" someone yelled, like it was a 5-alarm fire. The band stopped. A waiter dropped a tray. A groomsman tried to shoo Betsy, but she reared, toppled a champagne tower, and landed on the buffet table, bleeding triumphantly. She was a queen claiming her throne. The herd joined her. Otis dove into a fruit platter, Mabel splashed in a punch bowl, Big Jim knocked over a "Forever Love" sign. Guests tripped over chairs, some filming, others fleeing. A kids had got eaten. The DJ's remix of Sweet Caroline cut out when a goat chewed the power cord. Then came Linda, hair like a lacquered helmet, lipstick blazing, sprinting from the tent's back flap. She shrieked, grabbing a pool noodle. God knows why, and flailed at Otis, who was munching salmon canapes. He stared, unimpressed, and left a steaming gift on the tray. Henry choked on his laughter. Betsy, dodging Linda's noodle, leaped onto the wedding cake. It collapsed in a frosting avalanche, making kids wail and one old man cheer. The groom roared, demanding answers. Linda stammered about HOA bylaws, but the bride sobbed, and the groom's mother fainted. Sirens wailed someone had called 911. Deputy Carter rolled up, toothpick in mouth, and leaned against Henry's porch. "Livestock wandering on your own land during an unpermitted event?" he mused. "Aim to crime. More like performance art." Linda ran to him, ranting about sabotage. Carter asked if she had permission. Her face went white. He asked about permits for sound catering, parking. She tried tears. He wasn't buying it. "Press charges?" he asked Henry. "Not yet," Henry said, eyeing the wreckage. "But soon." The guests fled, dresses ruined, bouquets trampled. Henry whistled, and Betsy hopped off the buffet, leading her herd back to the barn like victorious soldiers. He gave them treats, closed the gate, and sat, phone full of videos, heart full of vengeance. The next morning, the tent stood, tattered and hoof-marked. Linda sat on a chair, defeated, glaring at the barn. "That was deliberate," she spat as Henry approached. "No more than you stealing my land," he shot back. She threatened lawsuits, claiming he owed her for damages. He countered with invoices for power theft, trespassing, and goat trauma. Betsy had slipped on a mimosa, after all. Linda blinked, floored. She tried to soften, suggesting a settlement, even HOA praise for his contribution. Henry laughed, spilling his coffee. By afternoon, his phone buzzed nonstop. The video had gone viral. Slow motion of Betsy on the cake, set to orchestral music. Friends, strangers, even a guy from the next county called. A reporter quoted him. "Never underestimate a goat with a mission." Linda's troubles mounted. She used HOA funds for the tent, sparking an investigation. The board ousted her, and she vanished, her house sold quietly. Henry's lawyer, Ellen, filed a suit for trespassing and defamation. In court, Linda's attorney called it a livestock breach. But Ellen's dense maps, bills, Linda's own words crushed her. The judge fined Linda, ordered restitution, and banned her from community events for 5 years. The crowd outside clapped, handing Henry a goat-themed tote bag. Peace returned. The pasture healed, the goats grazed, and Henry savored the quiet. The HOA apologized, tightening bylaws. At the county fair, Betsy won Best Personality, her ribbon tied proudly. That night, Henry sat on his porch, Betsy at his feet, the stars soft above. A sign on his gate read, "Private pasture. No events. Goats on duty. Trespassers will be entertained." Justice hadn't come from courts alone but from 4 hooves, a bell, and a knack for chaos. And as Henry scratched Betsy's ears, he knew, when you guard your home with wit and a herd, you don't just win, you reclaim your peace.